Hello and welcome to the Plat podcast. Um, we're back. We took a week off. We were hoping it was just going to be a couple days so we could let more roster moves go through, but then ended up a week passing. So we decided we're just going to kind of talk about the winning teams from the major playoffs for both North America and Europe. We're just going to go through the winning run for both teams, which would be BDS and Space Station, and then we're going to go into these roster moves because there are a ton and it's hard to keep up with, and with one player moving it creates a huge cascade of other players moving, so it gets very confusing very quick. But we'll save that for the end, and for now we'll do you want to start with Europe or with North
We can
America?
start with Europe.
All right, so starting with Europe, BDS winning the major. They went through Barca, Galaxy Racers, and Vitality.
Yeah, we were able to watch this all together. And the BDS run was probably way more exciting. It was definitely way more exciting than the Vitality run to the final.
Yes.
And it started off with them playing Barca, and we thought that was arguably the best series of the day right off the bat. In the first
Yeah.
round, I think it was the second best series, followed by the falling behind BDS's next series, but we'll
That's
talk about that in
okay.
a sec.
That's exactly what I was
Um,
thinking.
So we agreed that BDS versus Barca in the first, like from the quarters, we thought, oh, this series is possibly going to be one of the best, and we think it's the second best from the day. But overall, it was interesting for the start, and it was a real tough game to really see who's going to be the better team. And Barca ended up squeaking through, and it kind of worked out that going in, um, Vancer's team that he enjoys watching possibly the most was Barca's team,
Yeah.
especially with his love for Ronicky and Atachi. And then
Yeah.
mine was BDS with Mark by 8 and the Monkey Moon Extra triple combo. And so we thought that was a super fun one to see early in the quarters. But after the first game, it was pretty much a BDS domination from then on. And they were just able to show how good they can play as a team together. And it
Yeah.
wasn't that Barca played bad. It was just, I think both of us can agree that BDS was just the better team, and it was pretty obvious throughout the entire thing.
Yeah,
If you have
Barca.
anything else.
Yeah, Barca was just sort of stuck on defense the whole time, and then they'd break out and make a couple really they'd make a couple minutes where they're just like playing really well and like nice drives on offense, but there was just so much time they spent just like goal line save after goal line save, and just like it was just a matter of time before BDS broke through. But as you can
Yeah,
see, like the games where they stood a chance at winning were a 1-0 win and a 1-0 loss.
yeah.
And then like the more BDS scored, like the harder it was for Barca to keep up because they just didn't have the same pressure.
So yeah, they got through Barca, and then after that they met Galaxy Racer, who we both agree is a super exciting team that's kind of on the rise still. Where it's like, and it was the
Honestly, I
former
think this
Monkeys.
solidified how strong they are.
Yeah, and it was this entire major proved it, and they've been just doing better recently in the weeks leading up, and it was like, oh, is Monkeys legit or not? And then making it to the semis and taking BDS to 7 games was pretty much you're nailing in that you are a top competitor in Europe,
Yeah,
and they also got up 3-1 on BDS in the series, and it looked basically possibly the end all be all for
yeah,
BDS right there. And it was like, are we going to see a Galaxy Racer Vitality final? And that'd be pretty interesting because Galaxy Racers has had Vitality's number of late, and
yeah,
they've been pretty close when they play. But BDS then did not let up a goal the rest of the time.
yeah. In
They,
and how many?
I just we didn't even notice that. That was the wildest part. We didn't notice that they hadn't let up a goal until they brought it up in the final because they hadn't let up a goal until game 3 of the final. Um,
Jeez.
so they went 5 full straight games without letting up a goal. You also have to take into account 4.5 minutes of overtime in the final game 7 versus Galaxy Racer. So
Yeah,
yeah, they really just did not let up a goal for an amazing amount of time. And you want to talk about that game 7 that was insane?
yeah. I mean, if you just not to mention just getting five straight shutouts, they allowed only Galaxy Racers only scored one goal in what is that game 4. Yeah, they scored one goal in game 4 and none in game 3. And then obviously you mentioned the 4:42 overtime in game 7. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 6, 7, 8 full game. Yeah, I guess probably 8 because I guarantee you Vitality didn't score immediately in the first game. So like 8 straight games essentially with only one goal to the other team's name. So BDS was playing some really strong defense, but that game 7 between BDS and Galaxy Racers, I don't remember what the time was looking like on the clock. I can't remember if it was super late or super early in the game.
It was early. It was early. I think there was 3 minutes left at least.
Yeah, and so I don't remember. I again can't remember who shot it. All I remember is that Monkey Moon pulled it off the goal line. I'm cursing myself by calling him
Matean.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, that sounds right. Cursing myself by saying Monkey Moon was like the most clutch player in Europe because he makes that save, which was the closest anyone was getting to scoring in regulation. And then 4 minutes in overtime later, Monkey Moon gets the game winners. The two biggest plays in a 9-minute game both go to Monkey Moon. And that's what pushed him through to Vitality.
And then moving right into that Vitality series, it started off like it looked like it was going to be a sweep, and then Vitality pulled one out in a 3.5-minute overtime to win 2-1. They squeaked through in game 5, and then in the last game, BDS was able to. All these games were pretty close, but it just seemed like BDS was so much better in the beginning because Alpha 54 just did nothing.
He was pretty quiet, yeah.
He was very quiet. It was mainly just K-Dop in games 4 and 5 that helped Vitality. Yeah. And Fairy was very non-existent throughout most of it. Alpha kind of picked up a little bit in 4 and 5, so that gave them a little bit of a boost, but there was really no coming back to beat BDS in this. So overall, it was just a BDS domination throughout this entire thing. Not even, especially in the series. I think the Galaxy Racer one was a tough one, but I think it just definitely solidifies that BDS is the number 1 team, arguably in the world, but definitely in Europe because they've now won 2 regionals and the major.
Yeah, they're far and away the best team in their region. Like, it's hard to compare them to North America right now, but as far as Europe goes, like, they're the best team. And I think a big part of them losing 2 games to Vitality is they just took their foot off the pedal. They went up 3-0, and they're like, there's no way Vitality reverse sweeps us. They get 1 in overtime, another 2-1 game, and then BDS like, all right, it's our turn for a 2-1 win, and then they get the last one, and it's all said and done. And just about every prediction, I think the only game we wouldn't have predicted. Actually, I feel like
I would have picked Top Lopes over
Yeah, I feel like I would have done the same. And then Galaxy Racers Triple Trouble would have been kind of up in the air.
Galaxy Racers over Triple Trouble easy.
I probably would have, but it wouldn't have been a sweep like that. But other than that, it seemed pretty straightforward. Vitality being Giants, that's kind of what I figured. Vitality destroying Endpoint, that's kind of what I figured.
Sweep, though, over Giants.
Same, but I mean, a 5-minute overtime in Game 3, and then the only game that wasn't like an easy dub was Game 1 or was Game 2. What did I say? Yeah, that was the only game where it looked easily Vitality's game to win. Giants could have easily taken games 1 and games 3.
BDS winning Europe. You want to talk more about NA?
Yeah, we can dive over to NA. NA more of the same, predicting exactly what we thought was going to happen. The top 4 teams in North America move on, with NRG now playing Envy, G2 playing Space Station. Honestly, nothing
G2
coming out of
the SSG one.
I did as well, considering how well Rogue looked and how much better G2 still looked than Rogue, even when Rogue was looking good. So I think the series to watch was probably G2 Space Station. That was my series
insane.
To watch.
And I was really hoping that my prediction could happen with G2 winning it, and then they didn't score in the final 2 games at all, so then they lost, which was pretty sad to see. But the SSG KCP series was pretty straightforward for them. There really isn't much to say. They were just much better.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can move right into the semis where they played G2, and that series was just so back and forth. Like, if you look at it, it was 1-0 SSG, then 1-1, 1-2 SSG, then it moved back over to 3-2 G2, and then SSG won the last two. So it was a very back and forth series, and just that series is definitely the one to watch. That was just so
Yeah.
much fun, and SSG came out on top where they just showed. We also agreed that you were talking about Reynolds being very clutch
Yep.
and him being able to pull out
And he had a
one
goal in Game 7 as well, I'm
to
pretty sure.
finish it off. So they moved on from G2, and they met NRG in the final. And
NRG was looking good, I'll be honest.
NRG, everybody, I still felt like SSG would beat them, but NRG being able to handily beat the Peeps, that series was
Yeah.
very
They
easy
had
for
8
NRG.
goals in Game 2. And then proceeded to lose the next game in overtime.
Yeah, it was that 8-0 was pretty tough to watch. It's just in
Yeah.
general because Justin almost scored. What was it? He had 6 of them, I think.
Yeah, he had 6 in that game.
And he was so close to having 1,000 points in that game. I think he was like 8 off. But then they played Envy, and that's usually a team that they usually beat Envy, but it's usually really, really close for them.
Yeah.
But this one, it really wasn't, and they just were able to just destroy them except for game 2. And then it looked like they were just on a tear coming through, and then SSG was able to shut them down in the last 2 games, exactly how they did versus G2 to not let up a goal in the final 2 games. But that series was also a lot of fun, where it was kind of back and forth, but it just felt like NRG didn't get into their groove because both their wins were 1-0 and one was even in overtime. So
Yeah. I mean, I think a big part of it was NRG was looking good, but it's because their competition through the day wasn't looking nearly as good as like G2. If G2 and Envy played each other, G2 would have mopped the floor with Envy.
yeah, I
Even
agree.
considering how good Envy's defense was, NRG managed to score 6 goals in Game 5 and 5 goals in Game 3. So like their defense clearly wasn't very good. Peeps have a pretty strong defense as well. Obviously not the greatest, but letting in 8 goals like that made them. Their defense was falling apart. And then Space Station just had like the hardest battle against G2, and managed to like clutch it out. And then there was no stopping them. I had full faith in SSG. Once I saw those first 2 wins, it was pretty clear that they were going to take the series. Despite NRG coming back to tie the series, I still thought it was
I agree.
It was their series.
But I think that's all we got to say about the major.
Yeah, so that's the major now. Space Station and BDS with getting those double points are now well ahead. Space Station not nearly as much as BDS is, but there's some definite distance between them and some of the other top teams. But now let's go into the huge array of transfers. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run through them real quick. And actually, should I run through them and then you stop me? Should I run through them and then we go back and visit certain ones, or how should we go through this?
We could run through them, but then I'll stop you like frequently to talk about specific ones.
Okay. So I was gonna try and do this chronologically as the trades were happening, but so many trades affected other ones. It was just easier for me to find the earliest moves and then see how those moves affected other ones. So the first thing that happened, which wasn't even a roster move, but it was a team change, is Team Frontline is now Team Loco. Everything pretty normal so far, but then once Barca broke up in Europe, it just sent shards everywhere through Europe.
Yeah, the shockwaves were going.
Yeah, so sends Itachi to Giants in place of Tox, and sends
I think that one was that's a huge move.
Sends Tox to Solary in place of Yukis, and that sends Yukis to Sauce Squad with Rise from Barrage and Melisishu, who is a former Solary player. So it's like Barca breaks up and then immediately changes 4 rosters right there.
Well, then Yukio went to replace Yukis.
No, Tox replaced Yukis. Yukio went to Fadeaway for Ocelon.
Oh.
He was rumored to go to Solary, but then Tox went instead of Yukio.
But Yukio's cooler.
All right, I don't know if that has to do with anything. I thought you liked Fadeaway more than you liked Solary, though.
I do.
Okay, well then there you go. And with that, it sent Roniki to Liquid, and that kicked Cookseer, and now he's playing with Flakes and Rezi on Swag. So Flakes is now has a team again. And so let's see if that does anything for him.
I feel like his
Devo,
playstyle just doesn't work.
no, I don't
Yeah.
think I think it can, but he doesn't have players that trust it or are good enough to pull it off the way he does. I also don't know how effective it is in threes, because obviously it's extremely effective in twos. But threes is just like a whole nother animal. Um, Devo goes to Guild. Scrub goes to Singularity. So yeah, literally one team breaks up, and what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other teams are affected
Yeah.
just from one breakup. So that was I think one of the biggest things to happen over this past week. Um, I should have actually broken this up between Europe and North America, but I didn't because there were so many to keep track of. Um, so next up is Seabass comes into 72 to replace Wonder, and he goes to Crimson Wings. Nothing big there. Libertas breaks up, and this is another one that caused a couple moves. Rizex goes to Barca, because now Barca just has a full new roster, along with Taz and Blurry, who were two of the Nameseeker players. And then their other teammate, Cash, who was also on the Nameseekers, has now joined Mike Boy, also from Libertas, and then Ocelon from Fadeaway, who was replaced by Yukio, to create Redemption. So again, another instance where Libertas and Nameseekers, both teams collided together and totally scrambled. Then they went and are now under the name Barca, but none of the old Barca players are there. And now Ocelon, Cash, and Mike Boy on Redemption. And Rix Ronde is the other Libertas player, and he's still available for anyone to pick him up, to my knowledge. I don't know if you've seen anything, but to my knowledge, he's still available.
Do you say Rix Ronde? Is that who I heard?
Yeah, Rix Ronde.
I haven't heard anything, no.
Okay, so I think he's still available then. So like I said, Yukio goes in to replace Ocelon on Fadeaway, so he joins Freaky and Tigray.
I thought that was an interesting one where they pushed Ocelon out.
Same, because I feel like Ocelon was good for that. I can't remember if it was Ocelon leaving or if they kicked Ocelon, I'll be honest. I don't know if it was his choice, just based on his teammates now makes me think he got kicked, because I feel like that's definitely not an improvement for Ocelon, because Fadeaway is definitely a much better team than Redemption is. But yeah, I was surprised by that as well, because Ocelon I felt like was a strong player for Fadeaway, but I also didn't watch them a lot, so I can't exactly confirm it. I don't know.
I just thought Ocelon was one of their better players, and it's interesting that he was pushed out. But there's so many different things that happen behind the scenes that none of us get to see. All we see is what's on the game.
Dapper leaves Charlotte Phoenix and becomes now Kansas City Pioneers sub. And because of that, Alraz goes to Charlotte Phoenix from Stromboli. Stromboli breaks up, and then that sends players scattering. I didn't write down one of the Stromboli players. I might be missing a player in here. But Stokely goes to Nefarious in place of Buddy. So Buddy goes to the Timberwolves with Noxes from Down to Earth and Pirates from Adept. Adept also broke up, so Pirates goes there. Spider, I believe, is still available, and Com is, I think, confirmed for version 1. Actually,
he was.
Okay, yeah. He was confirmed for version 1, which means AXB is available for anyone
he's
to pick
on the
him
open
up.
market.
So another big player like AXB, he hasn't been as good recently, especially with version 1, but I feel like he can be, with the right teammates. And then we move along to the Plot Twist breakup. And the Plot Twist breakup sends Sosa to the Pittsburgh Knights, and now Kinsey is available. It sends Taroko to Rogue, and now Kronovi is available. And it sends Mekdos to Ghost in place of Luke, because he joined Sip and Ice Cubes with Forky, the content creator, freestyler who played with Musty, and then Mile, who is a once player that was a sub for G2. So now that's a full new roster. You see Magnus comes in for apparently Jack on Rick's GG, and then that sends apparently Jack to Dignitas in place of Yukio. Um, VK Salen to Magnifico for Greasy, and then Magnifico becomes Team Queso. So now that's a full new team name, but basically the same team. Sonics had a pretty big change up.
Yeah.
Roldiz became their coach. Sathu retired and got replaced by Ticarel from Xset. And J. Russ, I guess, left, so he's on the open market. And their third is actually Jacob. So it's Jacob, Shock, and T. Carell, with Roldiz as a coach slash sub, I guess. And then Xset brings in Hoxer to replace T. Carell. And then Morning Light become Is I'm Dreaming, but I think that's the same full roster still. So a bunch of moves all over the place from both regions. Definitely more big ones from Europe, thanks to all like two full teams breaking up in Libertas and Barca. But Plot Twist making some big moves, as well as Adept, because both of them breaking up, sending players scattering as well. So I want to know, what do you think is your biggest upgrade and your biggest downgrade? I'm curious if you can think of one. If not, I can start and you can think while I talk.
I think that the one you just talked about with T. Corral was a big upgrade for Sonics.
Okay.
Just over anybody. I think he literally.
And he's replacing technically. I guess he's technically replacing Sathu or
That's
J.
a huge
Russ.
upgrade because I felt like that he was so good for Xset, and it's just like him and Shock. I think could be a really really nice combo.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah, because T. Carell like almost single-handedly turned
Yeah.
Xset's season around, and then they just go and dish him away to Sonics, and Sonics
Yeah.
was finally turning their season around. My only question mark is I guess Jacob, because I don't know, like, he was playing pretty well for 72, but I don't know why they swapped J. Russ for him.
Yeah, I was a little confused about that, but I think focusing on just the T-Crow, I think that was a good move.
That was a very
I
big
think
move,
the
yes.
Itachi move to Giants could be really insane. I think you're
yes.
a big fan of that one.
Yeah, as a Barca and especially Itachi fan, and as a Giants fan, I'm very excited to see this. I'm sad to see Ronicky go to Liquid because I feel like Liquid will
I think
not do
he's a
him
big
well.
upgrade on Cooks here, though.
Yes.
Cooks here had not been doing well, and Ronicky's.
I feel like
Ronicky
could have landed a better team though.
I think so. It depends on how well Speed plays. I always felt Fruity was consistently what he needed to be for that team, but they asked way too much of him, and it's just not who he is. It's just not how good he is.
Gotcha.
Speed needs to be that number one guy. Cooksier needed to be with Fruity as a 2 and 3 just together, and then that'd be a nice team right there in and of itself. But Fruity was where he needed to be. Speed was not where he was at the end of last season, and then Cooksier was just fine, but Cooksier's just like not good enough for what RLCS is right now, in my opinion. I think like it's the same way I feel about Kronovi. Like Kronovi's not bad, and neither is Cooksier, but just their
style
mechanical
doesn't fit
ability
anymore.
and stuff like that just is not there compared to other people in the league.
Yeah.
So I think Ronicky, if Speed plays better, and is able to do like everything, which he can do, and Ronicky already is able to do everything, I think they could be really nice, but they also could be slightly better, and that is it. But I think it's definitely an improvement.
I think it's definitely an improvement for Liquid, that's for sure. Because I feel like, if Speed can play, if anything, honestly, having Ronicky could enable Speed to play the way Speed wants to play.
Yeah, that's
and
what
if
I'm
Speed plays the way he wants to, he can probably get Ronicky the ball. But granted, I guess they probably did test out the team, and they must have played well. Otherwise, Ronicky wouldn't have gone there.
I agree. And I feel like he would have wanted to go there.
Yeah. So I think Ronicky will fit in well, because if they tested it and Ronicky feels like it's a good idea, then I trust him. But a team I'm looking forward to seeing now is how Solary improves, honestly, because Solary was one of those like kind of on the edge of like top 10 teams. I just felt like they didn't have a player that could really like steal a game for them, and I feel like Tox can be that player. But it's honestly it all comes down because obviously we've seen Tox has some issues off the field, and so hopefully that doesn't like directly affect Solary the way it did Giants in that one regional event.
Yeah.
But I feel like if Kyrian and Exotic can get on the ball, Tox can be a striker that they just desperately needed. Um, so I think that'll be a good move, and it'll just be interesting to see anytime Tox goes up against the Giants, see kind of how those work out. Um, and I think as far as North America goes, Pittsburgh Knights. I'm very excited to see because I felt like Kinsey was good. Honestly, anywhere where Plot Twist went, I'm gonna have my eyes on because I also really liked Plot Twist. They just couldn't always, find their I don't know, find their spot. I guess all three players I felt like were pretty good and played pretty well together, but nothing quite what they needed to be. But now with Mekdos going to Ghost, Sosa to Pittsburgh Knights, and Taroko to Rogue. Taroko going to Rogue. They lose Kronovi, he was like a big cornerstone of their team for quite a while. But I feel like now that they're doing away with Kronovi, that means they're probably doing away with their play style as well. And if you bring in a player like Taroko to play alongside First Killer and Turinturo, it's just going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'll hopefully clean up. Because I feel like First Killer wanted to play fast, where Kronovi maybe wanted to play slow, and something like that. Turinturo definitely felt like a much faster player as well. Um, and this could really help Rogue, considering they hadn't really looked that great, honestly, until the major. I felt like the major is when they looked at their best. Um, but it is what it is. But I think my favorite is Sosa to Pittsburgh Knights because I really liked Kinsey, but I felt like he was just a good player. He wasn't necessarily a good fit for the Knights. I felt like ZPS and Rodoko played really well together, and they had a lot of nice passing plays and a lot of nice plays between the two of them. But when Kinsey would play well, it's because he was like doing solo plays on his own. And then if you bring in a player like Sosa, who I feel is another heavy like team oriented player where he's like good at passing, good at shooting, good at defense, like solid all the way around, um, he's gonna slide right into that lineup perfectly. And if he can feed ZPS and Rodoko the ball, they're gonna be looking like really dangerous because you just don't know you don't know which player is gonna end up shooting the ball by the time it goes in your net. Um, so I'm excited for a couple of these moves.
Yeah, I am. I'm. I think it'll be a ton of fun, kind of just see how everything really works out. Not just this first week, but just how it could go over the season to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be because it might be the all the honeymoon phases could be really a thing to start off.
Yeah.
And I'll be interested to see. Or some might take longer to gel. So then I want to see. I think this first major will be tougher. This one could involve a lot of honeymoon stuff, and maybe some teams got too complacent, so that'll be interesting. But I think regional 2 will be a lot easier to see if it's like legit or not for a team.
Yeah. And then as a Dignitas fan, I'm very excited for the addition of apparently Jack. I'm much similar to Kinsey. I'm afraid it's just a hole they're filling until they can find a play style again because Jorias is a once player, apparently Jack is a once player, and Panda is just not. So I have no idea how this team is going to work or how they're going to play. But I'm also very excited to see Yukio move on because I felt like he can be a really strong player. Just Dignitas just isn't the place for him anymore. And so I'm excited to see him play with Fadeaway and see how they do. So a lot of my favorite teams are jumbling around, so it'll be a nice adjustment phase for me, so I can see how they're playing with new teams, how the team is now playing with new players. Um, yeah. Is there anything else that you're looking forward to?
I think we covered a lot of what we thought. I agree with a lot of it. I'm a big apparently Jack fan, so I'd like to see what he can do with Jorias and Violent Panda to see if they change up how they play even more with two main ones players.
Mm-hmm. Who knows? They might go full Flakes play style. They might
Could
just they might play it even better than he could.
but they're a bit better than Flakes at ones, so
Yeah, I mean probably because they don't play anything like him. Honestly, I think
Yeah.
the two flashiest ones players are apparently Jack and Joriez, which is I think what will make it very exciting to
Um,
see them playing on a team. Joriez for sure. Apparently Jack can be at
I think
times.
Astral's up there for flashy.
That's true. I was also
Um,
thinking like when you think of ones, what players you think of? Because when I think ones, I think players like O'Khaled. I think First Killer.
mm,
First Killer is also a very stylish ones player. But yeah, I'd say obviously Astral as well, but that's
I
just
think
because he's
ESO's
a
pretty
mechanical
fun to
god.
watch in ones. Um, AJ also for
Oh yeah,
ones.
AJ's excellent as well.
Uh,
Oh, actually,
so
do you want to mention the ones tournament that went on? Because I didn't watch it, but if you just have anything you want to mention from that.
yeah, I watched it was the gold mine, and they associated with the gold rush thing.
Mhm.
They've done a couple tournaments. I think Johnny Boy led this one heavily
Mhm.
because he loves his ones. Um, so he brought in like different people that could qualify. They played through a double elimination uh, type of thing, and then they went to the playoffs for the teams, and they did EU and NA. And for the NA bracket, it was like you go in thinking it'll be first killer to win it, and he swept through everything to get to be the first person that could qualify, and then he just never showed up to his game on the next on for the finals,
Which is
so
pretty
he
brutal.
forfeited. So the it was him, I Sharif, Mektos, Lion Blaze, Calm, Gengar, AJ, and Chronic who made it to the finals for NA,
Mhm.
and Lion Blaze beat AJ in a game seven. Uh, a Lion Blaze had to come back from a 3-1. It was pretty interesting. It seemed like Lion Blaze had been really preparing for this, while AJ was like he was preparing, but not apparently
Yeah.
not as much as Lion Blaze. Uh, but it was cool to see. There were a lot of jokes of like, oh, for the only way you let First Killer not win a NA ones tournament is he just doesn't show up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Everyone was like, nice job letting someone else win this time. So that was funny, but I like First Killer, so it was sad not seeing him in the final. But for I watched more of the European one, but the European one had Joriez, Ferry, O'Khaled, apparently Jack, Fahad, Zamway, Astral, and Dead Monster all make it to the final and the final day for the playoffs. And big surprise was apparently Jack beat O'Khaled right off the bat in the quarters.
Mhm.
Um, and the real surprise overall, though, for the day was Fahad 77 swept Zamway, swept Astral, and then beat Fairy in a game seven for the final. And uh, who the heck is Fahad? That's the
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was about
that's
to
the
ask.
thing. He changed his name. Apparently, he rebranded everything. I've never heard of him. No one's ever heard of him. He's another person, another Saudi player. So the Saudis just love their ones, and
Apparently.
he just went on and he won easily. I mean the Fairy series was so much fun. Because you don't even know who this guy is, and then he got up 3-1 on Fairy Peak, and it was just insane. Like one of the games, he beat Fairy 10-9. And he
Jeez.
scored. I think he scored his final goal. I want to say that was that one or the 6-5 where the ball landed on Fahad's car in his own end, and Fairy was just boostless on the other on the other side of his own end, and then Fahad just walked it in with no time left and just won the
Jeez.
game that way. So it was pretty funny to see. And after they had him talking, it was like I can't I'm shaking so much. I can't believe I'm winning and I won. So that I like watching ones because I'm bad at it. So it's fun to see what other people do, and it just gives me more ideas on how to handle sticky situations that can help you in a threes because that's what people play more often.
All right. No, I think that's everything has been said now. We'll
Yep.
be back next week because I believe the next regional, the next split. Actually, we can talk about the split for a second. Um, So split one was the Swiss format, which was like play the same team with your record, play another team with the same record as your own. Going into split two, it's instead of a 32 team bracket, it's a 24 team bracket, and it's just a double elimination bracket. So less teams, which means more competitive, and way higher stakes because you only get 2 losses as opposed to 3. The biggest thing I see this affecting is those those out of nowhere teams, like teams like Barrage that just sort of come out of nowhere and start performing really well. I feel like we'll see less of those, and also hopefully for Oxygen's sake, um, they fix their thing that's going on, because clearly Swiss was not the move for them, but they performed well on the grid. So maybe now with a double elimination bracket, they'll hopefully play better. But those are really the only big takeaways I have from moving from split one to split two.
Yeah, it'll be a nice, interesting change in how the format works. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, so split two starts next week, and we'll cover that right back from where we began. Because it's a different format, I
Looks like the
haven't.
grid is also changing how they did their format as well.
Oh, the grid is as well. Oh,
They're doing 2 days for their things,
interesting.
and they're a round robin, and then a single elimination.
I think I like that better.
I think that'll be interesting. There's also they start way later. There's only 4 weeks for the grid in the winter.
Hmm. Interesting. All right. So sounds like the grid is going to carry a lot more weight if there are less weeks of it.
Yep.
So we'll try to actually follow that a little bit closer than just knowing what happens. Um, so with new changes coming, it might be a bit rocky for the first 2 or 3 weeks. Like us knowing how to format our podcast again, but it'll go right back to normal. Hopefully, and we'll learn
Yep.
how to how to space everything out and how to talk about it again. Um, so until then, this has been the Plat Rats podcast. Wally, thanks for joining me as always.
Thanks for having me.
I'm starting to think I don't even think I introduced you when we first started because I just
You
got
did
right into
not.
things. Yeah, I
You
didn't.
did not.
So yeah, thanks for coming as always and putting up
No
with me.
problem.
And that's been it. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.